For everyone who doesn't know you, tell me a little bit about yourself and what's your story, man?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my name is Darwin Fajardo. I was born and raised in Honduras. I came to America about 9 years ago for college. Studied. I wanted to be a petroleum engineer because back in high school, my mom's a doctor, double degree. My dad's an engineer. So in the house, it was more like it was not whether or not you were going to go to college, it's whether you were going to be a doctor or an engineer. So I came with thought that I was going to become an engineer, a petroleum, oil and gas engineer, because I made a quick research on Google for like the best paid engineers. Because I was definitely not going to be a doctor because of the blood. I just don't do well in hospitals. And petroleum engineer came out, and then I've always liked Texas for a city to live in. I was like, okay, this is not bad. I started my first semester, second semester. And then that semester, I don't know if it was 2017 or 2018, the barrel went all the way down. Like the people that were actually telling me to study, oil and gas got all fired from the Shell, Chevron. So I was in the middle of a pickle. I was like, well, I'm an international student here and I'm studying a degree that people are getting fired after being 20 years in a company. So I switched to supply chain management and logistics and then completed my degree, started working in sales. And that's where everything changed for me because I was doing an internship in an oil and gas company when I was in college and I was getting paid, I think, 20 grand a year as a part time. In sales, I went in a summer and made 50 grand in 3 months. So in my head, I put two and two together and I understood that I was never going to work a normal job because once you see reality and once you see the potential and what things can be, it's really impossible to go back to the standard of other people. So, fast forward, I spent 3 years in door to door sales. I was the number one sales rep for that company for 3 years in a row, about 5,000 reps. Not a single week somebody beat me. And then I opened up my own cleaning company, been running it for 3 years and a half now. We got 35 employees. We do about 4 million in revenue a year. And bought a construction company off of one of my mentors about a year ago. And then with the money of the construction and the cleaning company, I bought 24 units for Section 8. So you can say I'm in three industries: cleaning, real estate, and construction services. But many people ask me like if it would be crazy to run three businesses at the same time, but they all vertically integrate. Every house needs to be built, and every house that's built needs cleaning, and every house that's built and it's clean needs a tenant. So I do the three of them. So that's me.
So yeah, that's incredible, man. What made you decide to go into the cleaning business?
The cleaning business, I mean, it's a long story short. I quit corporate because I just didn't like how do I say this? I just didn't like the hierarchy thing and um I'm a numbers oriented person and like I will always ask for what do I need to get to the next level. And I felt like I was doing what it took. And it's not just feeling, but also getting the results that they wanted. And I doubled the results and I doubled the numbers of team members that they wanted. And still I was not promoted. So that moment was like, okay, if you do this to me, that I am the number one sales rep in the country, what are you gonna do to my guys that are outside waiting for their chance? So I felt like it was unethical to even continue the cost. It was not about the money. I was on pace to make it $250,000 that year, and as a 23-year-old, that was a lot of money to me back then. So I had no reason to leave, but the ethical um, challenge that I had. Okay, if I continue this job, I'm literally gonna lure my guys into an opportunity that's gonna be eventually denied to them. So when I quit on the spot. I just didn't align with the company. I was like, at this point, anybody will hire me. Like I was 100%, um, you know, confident about my abilities because I've seen it day by day for 3 years and a half that I was in that company. I never came home without a sale. And if you've done any kind of sales, you know how tough that is, especially on door to door sales. So I knew that if I'll go in the marketplace, anybody will hire me. And so I interviewed with 4 companies. I received an offer for both of them when I left. Because what do you do whenever you leave a job? You go interview for another job. And I will always ask at like the very end of the interview, I'm like, hey, I like your staff, I like your vision and mission, and I think I can fit really well on this. But I just have one question for you guys, and they'll be like, okay, yeah. What's the question? Look, I am 20. I was 24 years old then. So I was like, look, I'm 24 years old, no wife, no kids, got my career in front of me, and I got my most energetic years ahead of me. I have no responsibilities at home rather than make a career for myself and my family and for my future family. So if I'm the first one in, last one out, show the way, know the way, show the way to others, never gatekeep anything, optimize your sales processes, and bring your sales at least 5% up in the first year. Would I ever own any equity on this company? And they'll always all look at me like, we like your attitude, but that's not how things work here. So then I just sat there like, and I asked the same question in 4 different interviews, and I received the same exact answer. So it's like you're following, right? There's a system to everything. But then I sat in my car and I was like, Mom, like, these companies are crazy. I'm literally telling them that I'm going to do all these things. And I have the credentials. I had like 9 recommendation letters. Why would they not give me that? Like, literally, if I'm 1 cent short, they don't have to pay me. And my mom was like, I'm tired of you. And by the way, my mom's the sweetest thing ever. Like, my mom is barely negative. Like, she always finds the bright side to things, but she knows when to be tough with me. She told me, I'm tired of you telling me how other people don't give you what you want. If you're that big of a shot, why don't you just get it yourself? For me, that was a call out because at the same time, I was entitled, right? I was like, oh, I deserve this, I deserve that. But I was like, why wouldn't I open up my own business? So I started like going to New York City, Vegas, Miami, and I will go up to restaurants. Like I will go to the bar section, Uchi and Novu, like places like that, Novu. And I'll always ask people, hey, how are you? Da-da-da, and start a conversation. What do you do for a living? Everybody told me I'm a founder, I own an insurance agency. I run, dental spot. Like I own so many units in real estate. I'm a developer. Like everybody was like had their own thing. So in my mind, I was like, okay, why am I so hounding this job? If nobody that I met that clearly lives the life that I want works there. So I came back home and I have my cleaner in my house, which will come every 2 weeks, cleaning the place. And I still remember to the day I was in at this point, I'm desperate. I'm like, dude, just give me a job. Like I'm 3 months, but I had enough savings to like not work for like 2, 3 years. So I looked at him and I was like, dude, how much money you made last year? And he was like 250,000. I'm like, pesos? Because he's Mexican. So I was like, pesos? No, dollars. I'm like, dude, how? And he was like, we just do great service. And in my head, I'm making numbers. I'm like, okay, how many doors did you knock to get this, amount of customers that pay you this much? I was like, I don't do door knocking. How did I got to you? And then it's like through your friend. And I got to your sales rep through you. So see, I've gotten from you guys like 20 customers. So I don't really need to advertise. I don't even have a website. I'm like, what? So then he showed me like, his Java thing and all the back end stuff. And he was like at $600,000 in revenue that year. This guy barely speaks Spanish, so he doesn't speak any English. Like for me, it was like a non-brainer. It was like I was seeing angels around this guy because I still remember when I asked him, "How many customers you have?" It was like about 200 to 280, something like that. And then in my head, I'm like, I'm getting 2, 3 customers with the company that is never going to pay me again. I was getting 15 to 20 a week. Do you understand? Like if I made the math in my head, I would have been able to get to the same amount of customers he's got in 12 years in business in 10 weeks. Because you multiply 20 by 10. So that's when I decided. I made him the payment for the service and I sell him $2,000. And I was like, dude, you're gonna show me the business. I'm gonna pay you this much and you're gonna show me everything. He's like, what do you mean you're gonna quit your job? He didn't know that I already quit. Because he will always see me with a suit and tie. He thought I was this big shot. Little he knew that he was making the same amount as me. Um, yeah, so I went trained with him. He showed me the business. He had 6 bands and like, all the people that were his staff, and I really like learned how to execute the service inside the house. And then I showed him a little bit more of the sales process, how to get customers. So we mutually helped each other. Then the following week, I, went to California, went to different cities to try out the service, see if I would like it. And I didn't like the tax rules in New York City nor in California. So the last city was Austin, Texas. And I knocked here for the first day. And I was like, okay, I remember parking my car. And I was like, God, if this is going to work, if you want me to do this for the next 5, 10 years, this is going to work today. And then I closed 6 customers that same day and like 10 doors. Literally, the first door that I knocked, the lady said, "Oh my God, I was just booking a cleaning service right now. Look." So yeah. So that's how I started. I think. I don't even remember your question, but yeah, that was it.
Awesome. Wow, that's incredible. Do you you first kind of like really made that pivot with door-to-door sales. What were some of the biggest things you learned from door-to-door sales? Since obviously, anyone who's done that, that's one of the hardest things you can do. And you really have to, be wired a certain way to really, continue doing that. So what were some of the biggest takeaways? What are some of the biggest things you picked up from that?
I think the biggest thing I learned from door-to-door sales is that, rejection is not, denial of the things that you want. It's just redirection. So, you that customer said no, that was not your customer. The customer would have probably given you issues anyway. You know what I mean? So every no will get, I know it sounds corny, every no gets you to a yes. Um, but every no would eventually, it's a rep that you do on your pitch. See, I follow the same pitch on every door, not because it's easy or not because it's systematic. So I can teach the same thing to 20 people, 100 people. So if I say the same thing in every door, it doesn't make it hard for me to remember. At the end of the day, I'm not tired. I can talk to 100 people. My social battery will still be at 100% because I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. Some people will, some people won't. So what? And the other thing that I experience in door to door sales is that you gotta be so locked in your product. And this is a huge takeaway. You gotta be so locked in your product that you know the pitch so good that customers feel compelled to say yes. Because if the customer says no, you be literally screwing them over because you know they'll eventually get a cleaning service or a solar panel or a security camera, but they just won't get it from you. So the fact that you train your pitch and you show up to the door prepared, knowing your objections, knowing the pitch, knowing how to pivot, knowing how to rehash the customer, it's a mere respect to the customer in itself because the customer will eventually buy it. They will not buy it from you. And you know that you have the best service in town. So why wouldn't you prepare yourself to be the best so more people can experience your service because nobody will treat them like you. So when I understood that, I was like, okay, so I just need to master this. And if I master this, I will get the results that I want. The other thing I really understood was your outputs will always be compatible to your inputs. So how much you put in is how much you get out. I still remember like people, I would walk in 5 sales in a day and people would be like, dude, what are you saying to these people? I'm like, dude, I'm saying the same pitch that they taught you. And then when I look at the numbers, I'll be like, okay, how many doors did you knock? And they'll be like 50. But dude, I knocked 120. Like you got no chance to even keep up with me. I'm telling you, like people that were born in the States, they don't even have an accent whatsoever. You know what I mean? It's easy for them to even communicate. If you think I got an accent right now, think about it like 7 years ago. You could barely understand me. Um, but I understood that the reason why I was better in the results. Not that I was a better salesperson, because most of them were really talented. Was not because I had some God gifted talent. Is that I did so much of it that it was impossible for me to become unsuccessful. I was doing what some people do in 1 day, some people do in 3 days. So I was for sure gonna get better results than them. Even the days that I was down, I was still better than them in terms of results. Not because I was better as a person or a better salesman, just to have more shots in front of the goal, you know? And then the other thing, supporting that as well, if I'm taking 150 shots per day and you're only taking 50, that means I'm getting 3 times more skillful at the shot than you. Then at the end of the year, my results are going to be 3 times more. But my development in the skill of shooting the ball is always going to be 3 times more than yours. So that's how you see how, you know, you see $100 paychecks on door to door sales and you see $4,000 paychecks for a week of work. There's no magic to the game. It's a skill. And since it's a skill, it can be learned. So those are the things that I learned. And then the fourth thing and final thing, I think this determines 99% of what's going to happen in your future, is you don't get to pick your future. You get to pick your habits, and your habits will pick your future for you.
I
So
like
you don't
that.
get to, yeah, you don't get to pick your future. We don't get that. We get to pick our habits, and then our habits will pick our future for us. So I think I heard Cody Sanchez say this one time, and it really stuck with me, that the chains of habits at the very start are too weak for them to be felt until they're too strong for them to be broken. So in the beginning, it starts like something that you do every day, and even this can be good or bad, like negative momentum or positive momentum. A good habit, waking up and getting your workout in, and little by little, you're becoming an athlete. You just don't know it yet because it's becoming a habit, and then eventually, you get the body, you get the mindset. You're you have better stamina. Your thoughts flow better. So it's like you get to pick what you do daily, the habits that you take, and then those habits will pick your future for you. So I think those are the major things that I learned in door to door sales.
And so, with all those kinda things you learned, did that, like, walk me through how you kind of transitioned that into your first year on the, cleaning business side of things?
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, look, what a business needs is sales. I knew I could figure out the process. I'm Latin by race, so they teach you how to clean in our household. But girls do have an advantage over me when but yeah, I mean, I understood that if I close a certain amount of customers per week and I delivered an amazing experience, I was gonna be successful. And always in my mind, I was thinking, okay, if I get 20 people to pay $200 for the service, that's $4,000 a week in revenue, and I can easily scale that to 3 teams. That would be 12 grand a week. So I'm back to square one, and I'm back to pretty much my income that I used to have. But this one is on my terms. It's my company. It's my logo. So, and then the other side to that is like, okay, so I decide how quick this grows. I don't have to ask permission to like spend this amount of money. I'm the captain now, and in my job is to build people to the point that they can think like me. At least they're not going to be like me because everybody's different, but I'm going to create the environment and a culture of a company that people can aspire for a better living, not just give them a job that will pay their bills, but give them a career that will build their life. So that's the way that I kind of thought into the door to door mentality, into going into doing the cleaning business. I was like, okay, look, I just need to close 10 more customers to hire one more person. And as long as I keep going and I keep signing up people and I keep getting delivering a great experience, like success is going to come to us. Success is not something that you chase or acquire, is something you become. It's just like a skill. So you can become successful just by doing so much of it that it's impossible for you to lose. You might have a losing day. Um, you might have a losing hour, but never let it expand to a week or a month or a year. Like I make sure negative moments stay in moments, not in days, weeks, or months. Because at the end of the day, you get to decide what it means for you. You know, I've had every mistake in the book that you can imagine as a business owner in 3 years and a half, but I have never given the issue any energy. I remember talking to one of my mentors one day, and I said, "Hey, I have this problem, this, and that, da 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 da." And then he told me like, the issue is not really the issue. The issue is the fact that you're naming it problem. You already give that thing half of your power. It is a situation that happened and is not fortunate, but that doesn't mean you cannot turn it into an opportunity to learn. So ever since I was like, I don't deal with issues or problems. I just there's events, some are favorable, some are not that favorable, but everything that comes to me and happens around me is just showing me feedback at what's going on inside of me. So if I don't like my exterior, I gotta fix something on the interior. So it always goes back to extreme ownership of everything that happens in your life is your fault, good and bad. And some of them are gonna be like really like somebody stole money from you or this. But at the end of the day, if you really look at the tiny details, it is your fault. So I think those door to door kind of like mindset bled into my business and targeting because when you're at the doors and you're 50 doors in and you got like 10 people cuss at you, 20 people slam the door at you, you're not feeling the most positive. But if you just take it as like, I just gotta be a professional and memorize my pitch and do a better job at like, you know, um, just executing the job at the most graceful way. I mean, if you take that attitude, you're most likely you sell the next two doors rather than saying, "Oh, this shit doesn't work." Da, 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 da. I mean, it clearly works. I used to tell people, there's no bum territory because people say, "Oh, this territory is bad." There's only a bum in a territory. So 99% of our issues are related to attitude because it's the way that you look at things that will determine if you give it any power or not. So I typically don't give attention to negative things. I typically look at the bright side of things and just sort of move forward. Not even like eliminate the issue, but grow from it. So first of all, it never happens again. But second of all, instead of being something that harmed me and went away, it's something that helped me expose a weakness that I was too busy to even look at.
You have a really good mental framework. That's how like obviously that's been kind of stress tested and built in D2D and all the other ventures. But like when you were younger, did you also kind of have a an attitude like that as well?
I think sports helps you a ton, right? Sports teaches you can be down 2-0 on a soccer match and then come through 3-2, right? That's like the worst kind of a score line that you can have 2-0 up. You can be down 3-2 in the second half. And see my parents grow up, like my mom came out of a house with seven seven siblings in his house, mud for floors in a studio apartment, and she was the only one that went to college and actually got a full ride and did double master's degree. She's one of the only pediatricians and neurologists out in my country. My dad's an engineer, also like came from a rough background. They were next door neighbors pretty much. So uh, I have no excuse because I still saw this woman wake up at 4 a.m. and go back home at 10 p.m. every day from like, you know, making us breakfast, dropping us to school, and then going to the public hospital. Because in Honduras, you gotta go. Like, there's only so many doctors, so it's illegal for you not to work for the public hospital. And then will go to the private clinic and then stay there till like 10 p.m. Sometimes 11, just doing paperwork. So sometimes I mean, most of the time, the bus will drop me off at her clinic, and I'll be with her till 10 p.m. when she would get off and just go to the house. Think about it. She would go home and just sleep for 4 hours, 5 hours if so, and then do it again, do it again, do it again. Mom was what, 40, 50 back then? That's like, if they did it, and for little pay, because really, like, my mom, I think, never made six figures in US dollars. Never. Because we live in a different country. If she would live here in America, like a double master's degree, it would be a whole complete different story. But regardless of, my parents always put our education first. We were going to one of the best schools in the country that was like $1,200 a month in US dollars to send us to. That was like in my currency, that's like 37,000. So we made the math one day with my sister. How many houses could she buy if she would have just put us in public school? She could have bought like 15 houses and then be a big real estate person in Honduras if she would have invested in that. But she invested on us, and our job has always been to pay her back. Although we won't, the bill's unpayable, but we done our best. We just bought her first home. She never owned a home because she spent all her money on us last year, and we've taken her on some vacations and stuff. So I think that's the biggest example for me because she's always giving me no room for excuses. Like if my mom could make it out of that, and I have this platform which she pretty much took 3 loans to send me to the States. If she did all that sacrifice for me, why wouldn't I try to get my legacy and my family and her efforts and multiply by 20? And then to make sure that my kids do the same thing and we just keep elevating. So that I think that was the early influence that I had with my parents.
Is that also, like, a big kinda driving force in why you work so hard just because you want to, repay it?
Yeah, 100%. 'Cause I mean, the best gift you can give to your parents won't be a watch, won't be a car. It's the person that you become. That's the ultimate trophy for them. So it's like if you become the highest version of yourself, your best self, that'll be the best gift that you can give to your parents. Like I and I know it because I'm getting to the point that I will eventually be a dad, right? I'll give it 5 years. But for me, that will be my goal for my kid to be, 20, 40 times better than me and put our last name in the map. Like I'm the first millionaire in my family. I know that for a fact in my bloodline. Nobody in my entire lineage, I can tell you, nobody named Fajardo has ever had $1 million in the bank. Nobody. So I already crossed that line, and I'm just gonna keep doing it because my kids are gonna have a way bigger challenge, and I just want it to become the standard so that way we never go back to anything else. But yeah, for sure. My mom at the end of the day, she can say, I bet on that stock when it was, cents on the dollar. So I want to give her that gift, and it will always be on the making. People like you and I will never reach our goals. Like our potential will always keep striving for more. So
That's incredible. That's an amazing story, amazing philosophy. So back to kind of the cleaning side of things. So you go through, your first year. Obviously, when you start a business, it's a lot different in sales since you have all these operations, all these other kind of complexities. What were some of the biggest kind of lessons you learned in that?
nobody's gonna work as hard as you in the business because it's not theirs. So that's people will look at that and say, "Oh, that's bad." And I will look at it, I will get excited because that means that, I get to be the example, and then my staff is probably gonna do 50% of what I do. Well, that puts the pressure on you because if they're just gonna do 50% of what you do, you gotta be at 150 for them to do at least 75 to 100. So it puts you at a different kind of like something to hold you accountable to a next level. Because people are going to catch 100% of your bad habits and they're only going to cut on to 20% of your good habits. So what does that mean? Now you have like you got to be the best example that you can be. So you always got to be watching on your shoulder, but also you got to be getting better every day. Like it's funny, right? Like my staff was cleaning the house today, and they're like, "Hey, darling, you've been sitting too much on the computer, right?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "You've gained like 20 pounds." And it's like, "Oh, okay." So they're watching. You see what I mean? They're always watching. They just won't tell you, but they will also see the good things too. So uh, that's what I will say. It's that that is a good thing because you're held to like you gotta hold yourself to the biggest standard that you can create, and then also like puts you on the mission and vision and working on it towards it because everybody's gotta be in that boat because if not, you will never achieve it. I always tell people your dream's got to be so big that everybody else's dream within your company fits on yours. So if their dream fits on yours, then they will stay with you to get to the destination. But if it doesn't, they'll go away and work for a competition. That's what happened in corporate with me. My dream was way bigger than my boss's dream. My boss was taking vacations on Mexico, coming back. Like, those were not my dreams. That's probably his dreams. But my dreams have always been like, be um, my last name to matter. And it's not about money. It's about like a generation of like, how do I say this? It's not about money. It's, because anybody can make money. It's about generational wealth, not just in the terms of money, but also like character. Like, I met your grandpa. That guy's solid. Like having your kids knowing that you're not just a guy, you're a superhero for them. It's like it's way deeper than just, going on vacation twice a year and giving a couple bonuses to my guys. It's about building how do you say that? That like
Legacy.
the last name, brand name.
Legacy.
There's a song by the Killers. Um, I got a household name. There you go. And that's the biggest gift you can give to your family, right? You look at The Godfather, they still talk about the grandpa, like in movie number three. And it's not about ego, it's not about praising me, it's about the fact that you can be that person for your family. And your family, Ed Milet talks about that. It says your family is looking for the one that's gonna change everything. Might not be you, it might be you, but if it's not you, it's gonna be 10 generations. That person's coming. Why wouldn't it be you? Like, why wouldn't you take the step, right? So, um, yeah, man, that's all. The door aspect to the cleaning and the mindset kind of like joins in the middle and the day to day. And I feel it helps us for everything because you also inspire growth in the guys. If you're growing, they feel like none of your employees are gonna be like, oh, I'm into self development, this and that. But if they see you doing self development and they see your results, they're like, you know what? I'm gonna try this. And then they try it, and then you get hooked on it. So it's the same with bad habits, though. Same with bad habits. So you also gotta be held to the biggest standard that you can possibly create for yourself. So I'll say that's the answer to your question.
Is that so walk me through, obviously you then, got into the other business, the construction side of things. How were you able to kind of delegate things and have it be to a point where, "Oh, I can go step and go to the next venture and go to the next venture?"
Yeah. I mean, I finally reached the point that I was like, first of all, a lot of people were asking me, "Hey, do you do plumbing? Do you do electrical work? This is not." So, I was already being asked by customers a ton. And then second, I saw the opportunity because I met the person that sold me the company. I met him via door to door, and he bought the the cleaning service, and then we started being friends. And then he became my mentor, and then he eventually retired. So if you ask me like how was I able to delegate, by the time I already had four managers and I already had the operation in a way that I was focusing solely on sales and like back end stuff and CRM. Um, when he gave me the opportunity to buy the company, I was like, okay, I would immediately make six figures like this. I would just like have to call all the people that asked me, and he was in the middle of two pool projects too. So I made like 70 grand profit on those two projects because they were big houses. So just we developed a training program and development program before I stepped out after cleaning space. I mean, I'm still in, but I'm not submerged in it. 6 months in, my sister gave me a call. She wanted to work with me. This is that. So put her in the cleaning business, and now she's managing everything for us. So she's playing the same role that I was playing when I was like full on in the cleaning service. She's doing all our social media, Google outreach and all that stuff. She does it way better than me. So I think that for the business to get to the next level, it will require a female to get it. So I think that was the best thing that I did and the best thing for her as well because her degree is biology. Like, though she would get paid 25 grand a year, if that. She can make that. She can make 4,000 a month with me just by making two calls and keeping the books clean. So, yeah. The thing with that is delegation, but you also got to train and develop your guys. You know, it's not like I'm gonna leave the cleaning company to her. I talked to 4 people out of 35. So those 4 people have teams of two and threes, and they communicate the message to the rest of the guys. But you got to develop that program before you step out, because if not, you will step out and everything will fall on your face. So remember, it's not a business if the business needs you constantly. You just created a job for yourself. So stepping into construction really like put it on the spot for me to build a company that can run without me. You know, I think we did 30 houses today and I didn't clean any of them. And we're in the middle of 2 remodel projects and I'm not there either. So it's a lot of leadership, a lot of setting the right people in the right seats. There's a book called The Energy Bus. It talks about having the right players in the right seats so that way the bus can, carry the right way. So it's a lot of recruiting, finding the right people, the people that will fit your mission and vision. Once you have that, making sure that you're not just training them, but also developing them, and that training never stops. And that's why I built the manuals, and I paid mentorships for this. I've been one on one with Grant Cardone, Team Grover, Andy Elliott. I've done it all. I think I've spent more than $250,000 in mentorships. So I've invested a ton in my development, but that has given me a ton in returns forever. Now, build a system, build a machine so the machine keeps printing for you. Once the machine is built, all you got to do is change the oil and do some edits every so often. But you're not the one printing the money. Instead, the machine is doing it for you. But first, you got to take 10 steps back and understand that it's not about chasing money. It's about building a machine that can produce it at will.
What's been some of the best ways you've been able to kinda, like, recruit in people who you can, really develop and who really align with your long-term vision?
Being the kind of company that will hire those before you hire them. So you wanna it's funny because people will say, "Oh, I want a girlfriend that's fit, does this, goes to church, da, da, da," but they're not that person. So you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So if you don't have the right employees, take a look at the mirror. Like, what are the qualities that you want to see in an employee? Well, embody them. Like you say, you want a Christian girl, but you're hanging on the club all the time. That's not where you find them. You say you want employees, but you cannot get a customer every week. So how are you going to keep a great employee anyway? And if you want to link it towards faith, it's like, look, if God has this good person for your company, and it will be reliable, he will like break his back for you and like go through, whatever. You think he's gonna give it to you when you haven't earned it. Or like it's not like you don't deserve the person's there, but if he gives it to you, you're gonna fumble him or her because you wouldn't have enough work or enough quality in the company for him to stay. So like sometimes blessings hold back a little bit because you're not ready for them. Because if God gives it to you right away, you won't be able to even hold the blessing. So some things do take time, not because they do take time because they are delayed, but because you're taking time to become the person that will actually not just get it, but get to keep it and multiply it. So I will think that will be the best way because once you hire a killer, all you gotta do is say, "These are the magic words." This literally, I hired 2 people actually from like interviews, and this is the way that I hired up to 35 employees. Hey, who do you know that has worked with you in the past that you feel you have great chemistry with, that would love to work with you today? Guess what? I get like Jose that has chemistry with Eric, and they worked with together in the past in construction for 12 years. Now Eric's working at a different job, so I just gotta recruit Eric, and I inject all those 12 years of experience working together into my 5-year-old company. All of a sudden, I'm operating like a 12-year-old company, just being 5 years in.
That's a really I've never heard that, but that's actually a really good tactical, piece of advice. Wow, that's incredible. So that now, you have these 2 businesses, they're doing well, you're creating these cultures, you're leading others, developing others. What made you decide to then go and start another venture in the Section 8?
I need to get rid of taxable income. That is a reality of it. It's either you invest or you pay to the government. And then second, I've always wanted to buy real estate, you know? I always wanted to buy real estate. That's always been appealing to me. I just had never gotten to the position to like, okay, here's 400 grand. Let's see what we can do with it. I've never been in that position before, but I put my head down long enough that I actually lifted up my head. I'm like, okay, we've been this far. Now we got to plan towards, what took you here won't take you there kind of analogy. So I needed to make those moves to get rid of taxable income. Um, yeah, and I mean, Section 8 is a program that makes sense to me. I don't have to be chasing tenants for payments, direct, correlation to the government and doing business with the government. Being in the list of Section 8 already gives you an edge when you're going for governmental contracts. So I have two of them. I mean, we landed Tesla last year, 7 months ago. We've been working with Tesla. It's kind of like a governmental contract still, because we work with the landlord, that's pretty much the city. Um, that having Section 8 houses under your name, it has some weight when you're betting for governmental contracts because you're already working with the government. So that's the other edge that it was going to give me that I liked. And then the fact it's a cash flowing business is every month, and it's if you put a good property manager to manage it, you're all set. So always wanted to get into real estate, and Section 8 was the easiest way to get into without putting six-figure dollar down payments. The average down payment that you need to put for a house is like 30 grand. I bought a house in Austin. I put 150 down and 70 on repairs. So you see the math now with how much it will take to buy one house in Austin. You buy six in St. Louis. And then you turn them into a cash cow. And eventually you keep investing. Eventually you can sell your entire portfolio, not just as a real estate portfolio, but as a business that has a P&L for the last 5 years. So that is a vision what I want with Section 8. It's just like something that can build my legacy long term. Because there's not a lot of money in the beginning. A lot of people say, oh, buy real estate, you'll get rich. No, you invest half of your money back into repairs. And then eventually you will make some money. But reinvesting everything. The property management tells me when there's enough money to buy another property, and we just keep flipping it. I haven't gotten $1 from Section 8. We've been profitable, but I haven't spent it on anything. I just want to get my portfolio to 1,000 units. And then once I'm there, kind of lift up my head and say, okay, we've been this far. The same situation, you see, same mentality. Okay, we've been so far. What can we do now? So, yeah.
Do you have any other kind of investments you do as well? Do you invest into like crypto, the market, options, anything like that?
I do a little bit of trading with one of my guys as he does it really well and has taught me. I copy trade pretty much. I'm learning, as I go, uh, but not really. I don't have, a portfolio of stocks, nothing like that. I'm just learning trading on the side. And I mean, it's been pretty profitable. We make an average of 30 to 40 a week. So it's pretty appealing to me because it's a way that we can use to buy more units faster without having to use the money of my businesses. I can use the money of the businesses to reinvest back. We're buying two machines for cleaning the Tesla facility. That's going to cost me like 80 grand. And we're getting it from China. So there's no financing for that one. You got to buy it cash. So it's the kind of machine that sweeps the floor and everything. So I want to reinvest the money back, and then the liquidity that I'm getting through trading is gonna keep financing my real estate nonstop. So so yeah, that's the only other thing that I do. But stepping out to do this trading stuff has actually taught me that the business do better without me because I get out of the way and my guys can do the job the right way instead of me micromanaging. So I feel like everything has continued to fit the right time. Not because I waited, but I made the decisions that took me to always land where I'm supposed to be at the right time. So you can say, oh, you got lucky that you met this guy, this and that, or you're lucky that your mentor sold you your company. You're lucky that, that guy was your cleaner. But behind everyone that I met, there was an action taken that paid me dividends, and it was a risk. So the reason why 99% of people are not successful today is because three things. They're too stupid, which they're not, because the access to Google is there. If you have a thinking brain, two arms, and two walking legs, you can do anything you want. They're too lazy, which they're not, because most of them work 80 hours a week for somebody else's dream. But the number three is why 99% of people are not successful is they're too arrogant. I still remember when I met my friend and he told me like, you know, trading, I make this much. I'm like, I don't believe in that internet money, man. I believe in construction, you know, real estate. I believe in, cleaning. You do this much, they pay you this much. I've never believed that trading stuff. And now that I see it, it took me a year to catch on to it. You know how much money I lost for being too arrogant, for taking the time to just learning it. And once you learn it, it's like a bicycle. You would never forget how to ride a bicycle. So that's the reason why 99% of people are not successful because of that. See, I am successful comma by comma, but I still get caught up on situations in which my arrogance prevents me from getting to a next level. So I'm always like, I always tend to like sit down with anybody that I meet and make it a goal to learn something. Because if you always have your student lens, you will always take something away. It doesn't matter if it's your server at your restaurant or it's a multi-billionaire sitting in front of you. You can always learn from somebody if you just allow yourself to be an amateur at something.
That's incredible. What's back to the trading thing, what's been some of the best strategies that have worked for you? Obviously the market's been kind of crazy the last few years. So what's some of the best strategies that you've implemented?
I mean, when we trade at 8:30 a.m. So, I mean, for me to like tell you specifically what works, I'll be lying to you. I just sit down next to my friend and I'm like, okay, do you go short or you go long? Short? Okay, let's go short. And then boom, it happens. I'm still learning a ton. Like, you should actually get on a call with him. He's like an expert at this thing. I'm just betting on him at this point. But I've learned, market's bullish. If Nasdaq is following a certain behavior, typically most of the stocks follow the same behavior. Head and shoulders kind of situations you're looking for sure plays where there's gonna be like 20 points rather than quick scalping that doesn't work for long term. So if you're looking for 8:30 a.m.s to 8:30 p.m. plays that go down or up 20 points and actually pay you rather than sitting all day and over trading and doing 18 trades and losing your accounts for that. The biggest thing that I've learned is that you don't trade whenever you want. You trade when the market is optimal for trading. One trade a day, that's it. That's all you need. Anybody else that trades two, three, four, five, they're gonna eventually lose their account. So we got one of the guys I was learning from him paid out 8.5. He made 17 on the top step account. So you can withdraw half of it. And it took him 2 weeks. Just of like pretty much doing the same signals that we do, that he does. And then just being a student and learning. Because one of the traits he took it by himself, just by learning the different graphs. Because he still has some stuff that if you see different shapes in the graph, you can predict kind of what's going to happen. Um, but that's as much as I know, brother.
Wow. That's an amazing story. You've really leveraged, one path to the next path, and just that's probably one of the most efficient and best mindsets to really have in this industry. Do you have any other, advice for someone who's maybe younger, maybe trying to get started? Obviously with social media and stuff, there's all these distractions, all these things that you can kind of do now. What would you say is like the best path for someone who's, maybe your younger self or someone who's very hardworking? They're willing to do whatever, but they just don't know where to start.
If you really want to become successful, the number one piece that you need to tackle is your ability to be a student. First of all, you got to have that mindset. You got to be curious. Curious people are healthy people. Certain people are typically unhealthy because their head is too big to even fit a new idea on it. So always be receptible to ideas. Like you can, I didn't know I was gonna go from top executive to cleaning bathrooms. For sure, it took like 1,000 steps back, but I was open to the idea of learning. Right, I was open to the idea of learning from my cleaner. So that eventually paid me dividends, but it didn't pay me a bit immediately. Understand that you live in a world in which you can order a pizza and get it in 10 minutes. You can go on Tinder, get a date in 20 minutes. So you live in a world that gives you instant gratification, but the best things of life and the things that you actually want do take time and do the required delayed gratification. So you gotta like unlearn things to like learn the new things that are actually gonna help you for your life. And then third, get into sales. No job's gonna pay you what sales pays you. You can make 100 grand in a week in sales, or you can make $0. But you will never make 100 grand as an engineer a week in as an engineer. No way. And you could be the smartest kid in the classroom. It don't matter. At the end of the day, sales is what most 100% of companies need, but because without sales, they die. Sales is like the blood in the body. You can have a perfect physique, but if you don't have blood running through your veins, you're dead. So identify that sales is the number one thing that companies need to become really good at it. That is impossible for you to become unsuccessful. Do so much of it that you become a master at it. Learn human behavior, negotiation, sales, money, and human psychology. Those are the five topics you gotta obsess over: sales, human behavior, human psychology, negotiations, and money. You memorize those five topics and you read the top 20 books on each topic, you're gonna become a genius at sales. That's it. Life is about going into rooms, talking to people, and making sure that you set the right expectations so you get the desired result. That's it. That's life. Life is walking into rooms with people, making the right connections, and elevate. That's it. But you can walk into the right room, connect with the wrong people, and set yourself 20 years back. And then third is, your network is your net worth. I always tell people that I'm not getting the results that they want. They don't want the results that they don't want. It's like, who's the five last people you talk to? What do you guys even talk about? Yeah, see, there's a pattern. You're the common denominator in all of it. So if you don't make a change, nothing changes. And the last one, and it's the most important part, is that if you really want to become successful, work for the person that you want to be like and get behind him for like 5 years, 4 years. Emulate everything. Walk like him, talk like him. I even will say work for free. I would say like a 19-year-old that wants to learn sales, work for free for a person that's currently getting the results that you want and living the life that you want. Work for free for a year, and they will pay you forever. That's what I did in sales. But I understood that he was not gonna live like I wanted, and he was not doing that. But he did help me take me here, back then. But he wasn't gonna help me take me there. And if you keep working on yourself and you keep developing yourself, you will understand every level that you go through. And then you start thinking, okay, these people don't serve me anymore. They serve me here, but they won't serve me there. And you get to the next level. And guess what? You don't have to cut anybody. They will they will get on the line with you to get to the next level as well. But as you're pursuing your dreams, you will see a lot of people fall off your route, not because they don't like you anymore, but because they don't can handle the pressure of you going out. And that's okay. It's not that you're gonna cut anybody. You just become better and they become uninterested in your mission and what you're going for. Because at the end of the day, if you want to party every weekend, I don't, I'm becoming like a I'm becoming like a problem to your cause because you want to party every weekend. I don't like that. It's like it's better for us to like, eventually not cut them off. Like I have friends that they'll still call me to the day. I'll still do things for them. But we just don't talk every day because it's not good for his mission or vision, and it's not good for mine because we're going opposite ways. So those are the things. Hang around the right people that are living the kind of life that you want. Work for the person that is currently getting the results that you want and living the kind of life that you want. Always stand guard at the door of your mind. Make sure you're going into rooms that are gonna take you 20 years ahead instead of 20 years back. And make sure that you always remain a student. That's it.
I love that. I love that. That's an amazing way to look at life. Your attitude and your kind of philosophy on how you do things is incredible, and I think, you're an extremely, a talented person. Yeah, that, your frameworks are amazing. Like, those are top level frameworks. Where, for everyone watching this, where can they find you? How can they,
Yeah,
get in contact
Instagram
with you?
at LICDFAJARDO. We have a YouTube channel, but I think my sister turned it into cleaning. You can find a lot of the interviews that I've had in the past. I've interviewed Patrick Bet David, coach. I've interviewed Bridget Dunlap, the owner of Rainy Street. I've interviewed a bunch of CEOs, like four or five. Uh, the one that produces the most revenue in the country for credit cards processors. He does my credit card processing. A lot of stuff there. And then my Instagram, obviously, LICDFAJARDO 21. So, yeah.